it is paralyzing to do your own home. You're going to make 1 million decisions. It's hard. So just know that that's normal and that that's okay. You yoke yourself with somebody that just really knows you super well, or of course, hire a designer that can help get you there and help inform because they get to know you so well. And even when I was building my own home, I was like, who am I? Because I feel like I could be happy with both, you know? And they're like, duh, you're the one on the right. And I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. So I just think you just need to do it with somebody that really adores you and gets you because it's your house at the end of the day. I think that's really helpful.
You spoke to this being your home state.
Yeah.
Are you from Utah?
For the most part, yeah. Dad was in the Air Force when I was little, and so we moved around a lot. And then since 3rd grade, I grew up in this little one-horse town called Richfield, Utah. And some people know what it is and some people don't. It was easy to get a driver's license there because there's one stoplight. And so, yeah, it was great. I loved it. I'm definitely a small town girl as far as like growing up. And I feel bad sometimes that my kids don't have that same experience. But Highland definitely feels like home where we are now because we've kind of moved in and then we've watched it just get more and more really great places so that we don't have to drive as far. Like we used to drive to Sandy for a lot of things. So yeah, we love it. But there's still like, you can still see an occasional horse or cow or something like that.
Yes.
So yeah, it's cute. I like it.
So how awesome for you to grow up in Richfield, Utah, which I hear they have an amazing 4th of July celebration.
They do. Like legit.
Yeah.
We all bring our husbands down, but our friends are all on standby for our texts and videos because it's so fun and funny. Yeah.
So, but none of you go to the 4th of July celebration because the rest of us want it to stay small.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it small.
Keep it small.
Yeah.
So you started out in Richfield, Utah, and now, you own this luxury brand that you design all over the world.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
It's really weird when you say it. I'm like, do we? I guess we do. We are doing that, but it seems pretty normal. So yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah. So we talked about, how several of these other interior designers are in the space now. Over the last decade, we can think of several other names, not only locally, but within the nation that have come up and are doing similar things to what Alice Lane does. What advice maybe would you have for another small business just starting out? We hope that right now is not the same thing as 2008, right?
Yeah.
Even though maybe rates are increasing and some things are headed that way.
Definitely.
But what thoughts do you have for other small business owners?
Gosh, I would say don't wait till something's perfect to start doing it, right? Because that'll just slow you down. So you just have to take some chances and put yourself out there. And you're going to have to do it over and over and over again. And pretty soon you'll feel kind of normal when you're doing it. Trying to think what great advice. I mean, like the whole, we were cowboys then. Sometimes you're going to sit back and laugh at the way that you did it, but you have to do it in order to realize it's broken, and then you can figure out how to fix it. So it's okay. It's okay if things aren't perfect. It's just really cool that you're putting yourself out there and that you're doing it and that you're doing your magic in the world because there's room. I feel like there's room for everybody. And we all have a different spin. We all have a different process and a different way of doing it and different styles. You know what I mean? So whatever that may be, whether you're an accountant with a different style of doing it the way the other guy did it with taxes or whatever else, I just think, you're going to be your best salesman. So you got to put yourself out there. And it's an interesting thing. And I don't know, I like to talk to other people in the industry and learn from them. I just was recently at High Point Market. That's the big show where they show all of the furnishings. And there's a really lovely group out of Atlanta that designs an amazing, really high-end furniture brand. And we've become really close girlfriends. And so I talked to them and I asked them a lot of questions. And I was like, I think we need an agent to get to the next level. I really want a book, And so I'm talking to her about it. And she was like, listen, you don't need an agent. And here's why you don't need an agent. And she went through it all with me. And I was like, in that moment, just really felt like I trusted her. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there. But sometimes I'm like, it's not any of your business how you're going to get there. You just have to believe that you can. And so I don't know. That's where we're at. I just think you have to, you'll run into the right people. You have to open up your mouth and you just have to talk to them because they have all been in the same place as you know? So we have our own podcast called Dear Alice. And a lot of people would stop me at High Point and say, thank you for doing this, because I'm an interior designer just starting out. And when I hear your words, then I know how to say that to my client, or then I know to redirect what we're doing. And I was like, I thought people listening to the podcast would be homeowners that are like not sure what decisions to make.
Yes.
The biggest question is always, what can I do that won't go out of style? Because they're afraid to spend a lot of money on it. It's not. It's interior designers. It's other people in our same trade. And so it's even like one girl reached out to me this week, and she's in interior design school. And so she was just like, what do I do to make my portfolio over the top so I get noticed, you know? So it's really fun to be in this like-minded community and to be able to knowledge share.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us are too proud to do that. I know I'm not. I needed all the help I could get, but we have a dream, and I feel like we would be miserable if we didn't try, you know?
Yeah, I love that. What a fun message to share. We'd all be miserable for sure if we didn't try.
Yeah.
I love
it's like really rewarding at the end of the day to fall asleep exhausted, but just like knowing that you're doing it, and that you don't have to live with the torture of not doing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. But since you brought it up, speaking of timeless pieces, right?
Yeah.
Obviously on our podcast, we typically talk about all things financial related and how to save money and live your dreams and all the things. And obviously Alice Lane Home Collection and Alice Lane Design Services is a luxury brand.
Yeah.
We're talking, you know, you've got to invest in order to, you know, make your home what you want it to be. So for our audience who maybe are like those homeowners you just spoke about that want to say, hey, I want something that's super timeless because I want to invest now and just have it last forever.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? I mean, my first question for you is just, are white kitchens a thing of the past? Are we already off trend with those? Or what are your thoughts as far as timeless goes?
It's a great question. I asked myself that question 7 years ago when I was building my own home. And, you know, we were talking to people and different publishers, and I thought I was going to do a white kitchen. I had a white kitchen in my Alice Lane home a decade before, you know, when I was making those decisions. My mother-in-law has a white kitchen, and she's, you know, much older than I am and lives in Maryland. So it's a thing that we do white kitchens all the time for people. So it depends on your taste. It depends what you want to do. It depends on the statement you want to make. But the one thing that the publisher said to me is, if you do a white kitchen, we will not publish you, because we've all seen a white kitchen. We know exactly what that looks like in our mind. Yeah. So it's not their job to show a white kitchen. Their job is to show something new, something unique, something that will catch the eye, right? Because it's a magazine. So I was like, oh, no white kitchen for me. I gotta take the challenge and do a different kind of kitchen. And I actually have Corey over here that has a dark green kitchen. And right now with the whites, though, we're customizing the color, because we all know that the white, the optic white, you know, the sheet of paper in your hand, like that color white is not what we want in a white kitchen right now. We want it to feel a little bit more artisan, and we want it to feel custom, because all the semi-custom shops or even IKEA, you can get a ready-made kitchen that's white. So if you're going to go to the trouble to do a custom kitchen, don't do white, or you'll look like you phoned it in. You really, really want to customize your white. Choose something that feels more organic or earthen or artisan. And I think it's going to look a lot more sophisticated of a white, and you'll get more credit for doing a white kitchen. But yes, I think white kitchens are always going to be timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. When it comes to someone that has, let's say, a specific budget, maybe it's not a budget where I can overhaul my entire house, even though we all want to, especially after being in them during COVID for so long, right? But I want to know, like, where should I spend? What should I invest in? Is it furniture? Is it, just, you're going to get sick of your pillows every 2 years. So just plan on spending a few grand on those, whatever that looks like. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, good question. I think it depends on if you're renting the home or if you purchased the home.
Yeah.
And also, like, how long do you think you're going to spend time in it? And also, if you're in a townhome, meaning that's kind of a fixed price, because there's other homes exactly like yours in the same range. So even if you over improve it, you're not going to be able to get that money out, because the next house is exactly like yours and it's going to sell for $50,000 less, even though you over improved your home. So We always say the least expensive thing that you can do for the highest impact is paint. Yeah. So again, like if you own your home, I don't know if you rent your home and your landlord is like, you know what, anything you can do to improve it, then, we'll take it out of the rent or go ahead and do it. Then I think that's one way to make a house feel like it's your home, is to just choose like a really beautiful color paint. Do not do a focus wall. I repeat, do not paint one wall in the room. You got to paint the entirety of the room. And I think that that's one way to really make it feel richer. And then as you're just like, I would say invest in your pieces, because you're going to take those with you from home to home, depending on where you are in your station in life. If you know that this is the house that you want to improve and spend time on, then I know Corey would say, Corey did a lot of his own work on his home and he did woodworking. So he would say definitely hit the moldings, because your base molds might be really tiny. So putting in a more beautiful base mold and more beautiful casing, a more impressive front door with more impressive hardware. Hardware is really easy to update. Like your old kitchen, even if you're going to paint it, take that hardware off, fill those holes in before you paint it, and then put something really current on there. Lighting makes a huge difference. Big, beautiful lights. We always say go bigger than you think. It looks like a designer did your space. So I've seen some people buy 5x7 rugs for their great room, and it's sitting in front of the sofa and it looks like a flying carpet. And you're like, what's that doing there? It's like a bath mat in the middle of the room. You want like all your furniture legs to be sitting on that rug. So yeah, just start to invest in bigger pieces. It's a space expanding trick. Your house is going to look bigger. Same thing with the lighting. I think the right light is going to look great. Oddly enough, people don't have lamps. When we go into people's homes to do consultations, they'll have like a sectional side table, sometimes no side table. And then you're like, ladies and gentlemen, we look so much prettier in lamplight than we do in overhead light. So at the end of the day, you don't want those overhead lights on. You want those lamps on, and then maybe like that central fixture, maybe. Or like if it's your entry, maybe it's that big, beautiful fixture is on, and then like a little hall lamp. But that's going to look more dreamy, and people will just like feel like it's such a mood. So lighting, oddly enough, makes a big difference.
I love that. And it's something that you can easily change out.
Totally. Right? Yeah, definitely. I have to say though, this is going to sound really counterintuitive for a designer to say, if I were to invest in the bedroom, I would invest first in a better mattress before I invested in a headboard. If I had to choose like where my money's going to go, if for like the next quarter or something, I just think we have to sleep well, just sleep really, really well and invest in a great pillow, because that will bless your life. And then you can start to get into like the headboard and, the right bedding and the right pillows and nightstands and lamps, but sleep well.
I love that. I love that you said that. That's very practical advice.
I know.
Because we do all need that.
I am practical, and maybe I'm just getting older, but I just really value sleep. So yeah.
As we all should. Yeah. I love that, right? We can talk about sleep studies too. But.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. So, as you've grown your business over the years, obviously you've been well over a decade in this business. What does it feel like? And, this is just Kristalina's thoughts. How does it feel to be designing homes for people like Rachel Parcell, Jamie O'Banion, Tan France, like all those just people that are slaying their own careers, right?
Yeah, so exciting. I mean, we give each other high fives when we get, we're doing beautiful work. Sometimes that beautiful work comes with an awesome name, like you just said.
Yeah.
And we're so excited to be invited just to be at the party, even if there's other designers there that are being considered. But yeah, it's thrilling. It's still thrilling. Katherine Heigl came to the store yesterday and bought a chair and is looking at other things. And we're like, she's a straight up movie star, So yeah, it's still a thrill.
That's awesome.
It'll never get old. It's so fun. It's fun being in their spaces too and seeing how they want to live, because you're creating a dream for them. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting.
Yeah. So as we're talking about these different people creating their dream spaces, from all your years of experience, what really does a dream space consist of?
That's a great question. It's different for every person.
Yeah.
One common denominator that we keep seeing that we get really excited about is a closet for a woman or a man like we did for Tan.
Yeah.
Or for Rachel. And we're doing closets for people that, you wouldn't know their name, but they're still extraordinary people, and they're bigger and better and triple wide what you've ever seen before. So we haven't shot them yet, but yeah, it's really fun to actually get to be a designer that's known for extraordinary closets. And the closets these days, I hope nobody gasps at this, but they're like bigger than the kitchens today, which is crazy, and more expensive because it's more cabinetry. And they all have an island, just like a kitchen does, and they all need storage. And then there's a big chandelier over the island, which is like a kitchen. You just don't have to pay for appliances. So maybe the cabinetry bill is the same or greater, but the appliance bill is less than.
But our shoes appliances, because I don't know.
And purses, yeah, I know. It's extraordinary. So people have big closet dreams. And there's usually like a his and hers, or his and his, or whatever it's going to be. And there's like usually 2 closets involved. And usually one person isn't as big of a clothes horse as the other person. So they're not always equal.
Yeah.
But it is fun when like you do get a husband that's like, whoa, she's going crazy. Whoa, what have I always dreamed of? And then you get to get into his head. And yeah, it's pretty fun. It's like one of them we're doing right now is like, remember that movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Mr. Smith with like guns and ammo behind the clothes. Yeah. So it's like something that they value is hunting, and they collect all that. And usually that ends up in a safe. And for him, it's going to be safely behind his clothes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Awesome is a really good word for it. So I love that. But everybody has a different dream, and they collect different things, and it's really fun to get in their heads and find out why. And I actually went to school for advertising design at Utah State. And one of the things we had to just research to be able to create a logo for somebody is you had to know every single thing about, let's say we're doing an Italian restaurant. You had to go in the kitchen, sit in the kitchen. You had to watch them make the pasta. You had to find out why they did this thing. You see mama sitting in the corner and it's her recipe. You know what I mean? And you really like boil it down until you can finally like create an icon for this logo, the Nike swoosh, all the things that the McDonald's M, all these things that are so important. And so with that background and working with brands, I kind of feel that way about humans. Like no houses should look the same, in my opinion. We're creating this house specifically and only for you. And so we don't want to tap so hard into trends that our houses are starting to look alike. We just really want to know what in their mind is extraordinary, and then drive that home and make them look even cooler than they know they are, because we fall in love with them in the process. And then, we've had, clients crying, going, I didn't know I was this cool. And you're like, no, you are. This has been in you all along.
Yeah.
So we're just like grabbing all these physical things and making them come to life, and using your favorite colors and all of your wacky ideas, and they come out really beautiful. So it's really cool. We are in the people business. We just happen to design for sure.
How awesome. Well, and I read a article once that said, the question was posed of what's the it color this year, and obviously as designers, we know there's the Pantone color of the year, all the different things. But the person that answered, which I can't even remember who it was, but they're like, it's whatever color you like.
Yeah.
Right? It's your favorite color.
For sure.
It's going to be something. If you like red, we can paint the whole room red. I know that there's probably some things that you would say absolutely never. But
I know Suzanne that I work with, her favorite color is green. Every color of green. She loves nature so much. I hate green. Hate it. I grew up in the 90s. My dad's clinic was dark green. You remember a time where it was like everything was hunter green and brass and carpet, heavy and green carpet. So like I felt like we grew up in this green era, and I'm like, finally we're liberated. We can use other colors, And so, but we design together. We agree with each other on almost anything, and one loves something and the other one doesn't love it, But there's certain shades of it that make it more interesting and more hot. One of the things that we're seeing that's trending at market, I agree with that answer that, it's whatever your favorite color is. One of the things that we saw at market that I was just like so surprised, because I remember when it was trending before, because I'm just old enough to have seen, these things through the decade, and then they do repeat. We've seen it in fashion.
Mom jeans.
What? Exactly. Yeah. The flares,
Yeah.
Like the 70s again.
Yeah. Oh.
So we saw a lot of brown. like dark, semi-sweet chocolate brown. We saw that. Like they had this incredible room, upholstered walls, and then they had this sectional all in this super, super dark brown. And I have to tell you, it was so chic. It was really beautiful, surprising. We saw a lot of persimmon. So persimmon is like that red that's more orange than red. And it's just like this hip younger sister to red. And it gives you a lot of energy. I think everybody looks good in it. But then I was like, oh no, does that mean red is next? Because we've been in pink. People love pink and they love the nudes. And I still think that's really, really chic and sophisticated. And like we love a nude, like kind of like the color of your dress, you know, taupes and all of that have been so neutral. And I think will always be in style. But it was just interesting, like as an actual color, like persimmon, we saw it a lot of places. So plums, I think, are still really sophisticated. And then the semi-sweet brown just keeps circling in my head. And so anyway, we're just trying to figure out how to apply it, how to ease people into it, because brass was trending long before people wanted to adopt it here.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so now brass is trending so hard, the golds are, but then people at market are starting to show nickel and silvers again. And I'm like, nobody's ready to let go of their little fists of the brass because they're so into it, you know? So you also have to, like I was talking to a gal that has a fashion store and she was like, skinny jeans have been out for so long, but we cannot stop stocking them because all of the fashion bloggers are wearing skinny jeans because they're these thin girls with these long legs and they want to show off their assets. But skinny jeans aren't a thing. It's flares, it's the mom jeans, it's the straight legs, and they're not a thing. We go to market, we can't find them, but we can't get these bloggers to stop wearing skinny jeans. So I'm like, it depends on what the people want too, right?
Yes,
like the experts can say, it is time, you know, and then whether or not the people adopt it, I don't know. I don't know if people will adopt brown. We all remember blue and brown being a trend for weddings and in homes. And I'm like, I don't know if that's been 30 years or whatever the cycle is, but it probably has.
Yeah. Well, and I remember, you know, in my home that I grew up in, everything was brass.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly was, get that brass out of here. Like it is too yellow.
They couldn't do it enough.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like,
remodel quickly.
Yes.
It's embarrassing. So
it's interesting that now it's, again, like you said, it just comes in cycles.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah. It seems like it's like a 10-year thing, but when we opened in 2008, brass and gold were just starting to be a thing. People weren't quite adopting it yet, but you know, now we're sitting here, it's been longer than 10 years, you know? And so when people are like, should I make my faucet brass for my kitchen? I'm like, I wouldn't. It's utilitarian. Your appliances are going to be, you know, stainless. I would just stay with something really beautiful, polished nickel. It's warmer than chrome, but don't go all the way to brass because you're going to not like it in 5 years.
Oh,
you don't even have a decade left with brass. In my brain, I don't think we do.
Okay.
It's been hot for too long, you know?
Yeah.
So it is pretty. It's got its place, you know, in chandeliers and whatnot. But I wouldn't ever, I mean, never say never, right? But I wouldn't ever buy silverware that's brass or gold. And I would never do a faucet in it. Unless it's like maybe a powder bath and it's like the whole room is just really over the top and you want to lean into that in a really small space. But don't be buying brass faucets for the entire house, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that makes sense. So my question for you then is, what is the rule, or is there one? Is there a magic number, right? On mixing metals? Yeah,
for sure do that. Do that all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have a better chance of that whole look lasting a lot longer. And at Alice Lane, we love polished nickel, that warmer nickel, and it's glossy and shiny. Don't do brushed. Brushed is always going to look like that starter home. Mm-hmm. So if you can, like for that big kitchen faucet, you're going to want to go polished nickel. Maybe in your pendants, there's a mixture of brass and polished nickel. And then depending on the color of your cabinets, if they're warm, like I have a white oak kitchen, I could never put a brass knob on it because it would be too warm. You know what I mean? Two warm things together. So I did a nickel knob. But you could get away, if you're quite dressy and you have a white kitchen, doing a brass knob and then getting brass in the lighting. But then you've got stainless appliances, a big nickel faucet, and that's a really nice way to mix it, you know? So we talked with one vendor that does a beautiful lighting line that we just love. And she said for them, it's not so much about nickel and brass, it's bronze and brass, which was surprising. So yeah, so they're using a lot of bronze right now, both gorgeous, warm, rich metals.
Love it.
So I think it just depends on your territory, what you love. Again, like the favorite color thing, do what you love, you know? But if you're concerned, like, I got to buy something that lasts, you know, that's where you just have to be careful to not go too hard with any one metal. I think that's why the mixing metals seems more practical, if that's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of just those tried and true interior design fundamentals that we all should know when we're, you know, considering overhauling a room or decorating our house or even, you know, building?
Yeah, gosh, good question. I mean, you know, of course, everybody wants to make the right decision so that they don't feel like they have to remodel again.
Yes.
They're paranoid. We get more questions about like, what wall color is that? Because they're like, I don't want to paint the wrong color. It's a huge investment, like especially if you're painting the exterior of a home or, you know, a huge 2-story great room or something, or a kitchen paint color. Those things are expensive things and you don't really want to do them yourself.
Yeah.
So changing them isn't something that you can easily repent for, like, oh, well, I'll just paint it myself. I screwed up. So yeah, it is one of those things that's tricky. What advice do I have? I would say one thing for me, and I've noticed even with the other designers that work with me, it is paralyzing to do your own home. Paralyzing. It's hard. You're going to make 1 million decisions in the course of a build. If you're not great at making decisions, you yoke yourself with somebody that just really knows you super well, or of course, hire a designer that can help get you there and help inform because they get to know you so well. So I think that's super important. And even when I was building my own home, I was like, hey, who am I? Because I feel like I could be happy with both, you know?
Yes.
And they're like, duh, you're the one on the right. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. But it's hard, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a sister or a girlfriend or a mom, you're going to feel paralyzed. So just know that that's normal and that that's okay. And then just, you know, have somebody that knows you, not necessarily trying to push their style on you, but knows you and knows what you will love because it's your house at the end of the day. And I don't know, I just feel like we can take so many cues from our closet. What are we buying? What colors do we love? What looks great on us? You know, what's the hardware on our shoes and our bag? There's so many other purchasing decisions that you've made that help inform, you know, the house. I know when we get to know somebody, we're looking at what they're wearing. We're like, take me into your closet. Show me your favorite bag. Tell me why you like it. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, you're just trying to really get to know them as a human. And these are pretty kind of permanent decisions that you're making. And obviously there's huge shortages right now. And so you're like, oh, the pressure of purchasing the right stove in the right color because, you know, stoves are available in colors now. They're not just stainless steel. Will I get sick of that? I don't know. Let's talk about some other things that you've done in your life. Have you gotten sick of that? So I just think you just need to do it with somebody that really knows you and adores you and gets you. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, and can honor your own authenticity.
I think
love
so.
that.
Yeah.